Alright everybody, I'm Logan Alec, I'm a CPA, and I'm going to be completely honest with you. There's not a whole lot of stimulus news to speak of today. This morning, Nancy Pelosi was interviewed by George Stephanopoulos, but Justice Ginsburg's passing and Trump's next pick and what will Democrats do if Republicans try to ram his pick through the Senate before the election, all that kind of business is what dominated the interview. No new questions about stimulus or negotiations or anything like that, so nothing really to talk about on that front. So I thought I would take the opportunity today to talk about what's going on with Trump, China, privacy, and TikTok. This is a complicated situation and a developing story. I've seen a lot of hot takes on these issues, so this video is going to be what's actually going on, how we should respond, and how I expect it to play out over the rest of the year and even into 2021. And look, even if you don't use the TikTok app or you don't care about apps or social media, this issue about TikTok is about something bigger than just TikTok. So don't tune out just because you have no idea what TikTok is. But for information, what is TikTok? It's basically just an app where people can share short videos of themselves with music playing in the background. That's basically it. Now, the problem with TikTok is that a lot of experts are concerned about privacy within the app. Obviously, that's an issue with any social media platform, but there's been a tougher response to and scrutiny of TikTok's privacy policy because TikTok is owned by a China-based company called ByteDance. And obviously, when you download an app, that app gets access to all kinds of data about you. That goes not only for TikTok, but also for apps like Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, what have you. But the difference, of course, is that TikTok is owned by a Chinese company. So as a result, I'm going to talk more about this, the Trump administration via executive order has threatened to ban it. But before we get into TikTok specifically, let's talk about online privacy in general. Like I said, one of the main issues with social media apps and websites with respect to privacy is that gathering information about their audiences is typically part of the business model. If you're on Facebook, for example, there's something called a Facebook pixel. And basically, companies can add this pixel to their website in order to track visitor activity. So if you visit a website with a Facebook pixel on it, that information could be stored via the Facebook pixel, and that's why you might see another ad for that same company the next time you go on Facebook. Of course, you agree to all this when you sign up or connect your Facebook account to an app, so it's not exactly underhanded or anything like that, but still you may not realize exactly where your data is going or who could have access to it. Now on top of that, there are also more severe oversights, so not just using your data for marketing or something like that, but actually sharing it in improper ways or failing to moderate the platform. So a really well-known example of this is the fact that Facebook was used to promote the Rohingya genocide in Burma, mostly because they didn't have the moderation in place to remove posts that might incite violence. And of course, there's the huge scandal with Facebook and Cambridge Analytica. Some of you have probably heard of that, but essentially Cambridge Analytica was a consulting firm that received private information on more than 50 million Facebook users, and almost none of them had actually consented to having their data used in that way. So it's important to point out here that this wasn't a hack or something like that. This was someone pulling data that they had access to and giving it to a third party without getting permission from users. Now, that didn't involve TikTok, but I just want to point out that social media privacy has been a major concern for a long time. And in fact, Facebook had to pay a $5 billion fine as part of the fallout from the Cambridge Analytica situation. So big social media platforms have been punished in the past, but obviously banning them entirely, like the United States has threatened with TikTok, which I'll talk about more in a minute, but obviously banning them is a much stronger measure than simply imposing a one-time fine or something like that. And that's important here because when you see Facebook have a huge scandal and only get fined, it might look like they're getting special treatment as an American company, whereas TikTok is facing increased scrutiny due to our tensions with China. That impression made even more sense when Trump pushed for TikTok to sell to Microsoft or another American company in order to avoid the ban. But on September 13th, Microsoft announced that ByteDance, TikTok's parent company, had rejected its bid, and now TikTok has actually announced a planned partnership with Oracle and Walmart that I'll talk about in a minute, which made it seem like they might find a way to get back into Trump's good side. Now, you might be wondering whether Trump's posturing toward TikTok is truly because it's a threatening app with concerning privacy policies, or because of American tensions with China. And honestly, it seems to me like a little of both. Again, this is a charged topic. There's a lot of political fallout to consider, but the Washington Post did publish an analysis of the TikTok app and its security practices to determine whether it's really as bad as the Trump administration has said. Essentially, the Post found that TikTok has access to the content of your private messages, and they can also extract your location, IP address, device type, contacts, phone number, and age. Sure, that sounds like a lot, and it is, but at the same time, it doesn't really seem much worse than what we've seen with Facebook or any other American social media platform. Facebook can pull a lot of information from your device, for example, your birthday, your phone number, your contacts, your location, and your political views, and it can even track your activity on other websites in order to target you with ads when you come back to Facebook. So in my view, even though TikTok is somewhat invasive, it doesn't seem to be that much worse than any other social network, and I think the main concern is simply the Chinese ownership. As you know, I don't want to get too political. Our relationship with China is way too complex to cover it in one video, but I think it's clear that an American app that collected the same data points probably wouldn't have to worry about what TikTok has had to worry about recently. Now, around the beginning of the year, a firm called Checkpoint Research revealed vulnerabilities in the TikTok platform that could make accounts vulnerable to outside attacks. They've fixed the problem since then, but I'll put a link to that report in the description, and you'll see that it was really easy for them to send fake messages that looked like they were coming from TikTok. There was also another report in June 2020 that found that TikTok was looking at users' clipboards. So for example, if you're on your phone and you copy something on your phone to paste it into another app, then TikTok might be able to see that content. So the app itself doesn't have a perfect security record, but again, Facebook and other platforms have their own issues as well. For example, between 50 and 90 million Facebook accounts were hacked in 2018, and unlike the situation with TikTok, this hack actually gave attackers direct access to these accounts. And obviously Facebook was never banned or anything like that. So again, whether or not you think it makes sense to ban TikTok, I think the conversation is mostly about concerns with China rather than some glaring weakness in their security. The US government has also looked at TikTok for potentially censoring content for the Chinese government, but in general, they're most concerned with the possibility of China collecting data on American citizens. So the potential sale to Microsoft that eventually fell through and the potential deal with Oracle that came out later weren't necessarily about TikTok being vulnerable to hacks or something like that. They are really ways for TikTok to demonstrate that it's willing to play by our rules, particularly if they were taken over by an established American brand, Microsoft, Oracle, Walmart, etc. But just 2 days ago, the Department of Commerce announced a forthcoming ban on both TikTok and WeChat, which is another popular Chinese app that covers messaging, sending payments back and forth, some social media features, things like that. That ban would have come into effect today, September 20th, for downloading or updating the app, and would make November 12th the date when it would be illegal for internet service providers to enable the functioning or optimization of TikTok. And almost immediately, TikTok issued a statement saying, "We've already committed to unprecedented levels of additional transparency and accountability, well beyond what other apps are willing to do, including third-party audits, verification of code security, and U.S. government oversight of U.S. data security. We will continue to challenge the executive order, which was enacted without due process and threatens to deprive American people and small businesses across the U.S. of a significant platform for both a voice and livelihoods." And yesterday, Trump said that he has approved a deal in concept between TikTok's owner ByteDance, Oracle, and Walmart, which would temporarily at least avoid the download and update ban on TikTok. Now, if you aren't familiar with Oracle, it's a tech company based in the San Francisco Bay Area. They work on things like cloud infrastructure, digital security, and analytics. And this deal would create a new US-based company called TikTok Global, in which Oracle and Walmart would own 20%. So if this deal goes through, it wouldn't really be a full-on sale of TikTok, but it would just make Oracle a part owner and a trusted tech partner. So presumably they would be in a consulting role or something like that, but Oracle is not taking over the company or anything like that. And really all Trump said that he was okay with the agreement in concept, it had its blessing. It's not like this has been approved in, minute detail or anything like that, but obviously this is a good sign in terms of working out a deal in the future. And TikTok is at least supposedly planning to create TikTok global headquarters in Texas and hire 25,000 American workers, which obviously provides motivation for Trump to let this happen. They would be letting Oracle host all of their data while managing security, giving American politicians peace of mind in terms of user data being transferred to China. And on top of that, Oracle would also get access to all of TikTok's source code, which will help them determine when pieces of information TikTok is extracting and where the data is going. Unfortunately, Trump has kind of muddied the waters here. He said that the deal will have nothing to do with China and that all of the control is Walmart and Oracle, which just isn't true. Yes, they would have a 20% stake in TikTok, and yes, Oracle would be taking care of the data, but 20% obviously isn't enough to control a company entirely. So right now it's impossible to say whether Trump is just appealing to his base or whether it's going to be yet another conflict over who ends up with the controlling stake of TikTok. And of course, all this depends on the Chinese government approving the deal on their end as well. So even though a lot has happened over the last few weeks up to yesterday, that doesn't mean we've moved that much closer to a clear resolution. Okay, so that's where we're at as of today, September 20th. Of course, that doesn't mean that anything is settled yet. As I said earlier, the president directing the Department of Commerce to ban a mobile app is a complicated situation in and of itself, and it brings up a lot of questions about presidential authority over commerce. But of course, there is the issue of national security here as well. Of course, there's another layer to this with the election coming up. I don't know if Biden would have pursued the same course of action, but he did tell his campaign staff to delete TikTok from their phones, so obviously he's aware of the privacy concerns. And at a campaign stop on September 18th, Biden also called it a matter of genuine concern that TikTok, a Chinese operation, has access to over 100 million young people, particularly in the United States of America. So he didn't talk about their security or anything like that. He just said he's concerned that any Chinese business would have access to that much information on American citizens. So even in these polarized times, there's something of a bipartisan consensus that Chinese companies pose a credible threat to Americans. Again, don't want to tell you whether that's right or wrong, but I just think it's quite interesting that both candidates frame this as an issue of Chinese companies extracting data from American users. Well, it seems that this story has taken a new turn every few days, but I think I've covered the most important points that have come up so far. Either way, this is obviously a complex subject. I'm sure many of you know a lot about privacy and security, so it'd be great to read some of your comments, your thoughts down in the comment section below, both for my own interest and for any other viewers who might want to read from some other perspectives. All right, as always, thank you so much for watching to the end of the video. I really do appreciate it. Might as well give it a like at this point, right? Give me a big old thumbs up down there. I would really appreciate it. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.